yourselves?
I didn't really prep, so big surprise.
I'm picturing this as just kind of like a fireside chat to just hear your guys' story and get some of your like nuggets and words of wisdom for the rest of like the greater community to hear. So
Nugget.
if you could start
Do you
with
want
a
to
quick background, who you are, where you're from, how many years you've been doing this,
go, Susie?
how effortlessly you can look excellent in a gold lame shirt and 10-gallon hat at the AO, the America Outdoors after party, just details like that.
Well, like Tommy, so Susie always says there's things you learn from people all along that come through, like different cooks and different people. You learn something from all of them. And one thing that I picked up from Tommy Toe was you give him a compliment and he would always say, "Well, the hard part is making it look this easy." And I always just love that, right? Well, the hard part is actually making it look this easy. Like, so,
Duly noted.
that's the hard part with the gold lame shirt and showing up in chaps and a cowboy hat is well, the hard part's just making it look that easy.
Well, when we have support like Susie that's there behind you, just like holding everything else strong while you're making crazy look easy and fun. It works out. It's a compliment.
Well, that's the truth. And Susie actually makes it all work. Like this business, I mean, it would have been pretty rough for me over the years. Um,
we had a triathlon event called Ride Row Run that happened for a lot of years, and he had some other adventure races that happened, and so he coined the phrase "In Susie We Trust." Even though Rob was like the front man and the guy that was drinking with them and running around, he was like, "Yeah, but in Susie we trust."
Love that.
So what got you guys originally into just owning Imperial River Company? What was the founding story there?
yeah, so 25 years ago, summer of 2000, Susie was a school teacher off on summer vacation, and I was kind of in between jobs. And we spent the summer camping around the Northwest, driving around in a pickup camper, just going wherever we wanted to. I don't really remember much of an itinerary. We cruised around Montana and Idaho and a little bit of Washington and
Oregon.
Oregon, and just looking for just trying to figure out like where to settle in and what to do with ourselves. And it we just didn't know, we didn't really have a plan.
Right. I was teaching school, and Rob was previously had an engineering job because that was his profession, and he didn't like it. Like, I hate corporate America. This is awful. So then he was bouncing around trying to figure out what to do, and I could work anywhere. So we said, well, let's travel around and see what sounds good. And Rob's family's in Idaho, mine's in Oregon, etc. So then my dad, who was a successful businessman, knew that this business was for sale here in Maupin, and so he suggested it. And we were like, I don't know, maybe.
He's like, "Hey, you guys want to run a lodging property which has whitewater rafting? Rob, that'd be fun for you." And I'm like, you run a rafting company?
So he was, trying to get us closer to home probably, and trying to help his, fairly new to him son-in-law figure out what he was doing. And so that was kind of what spurred it along. So.
Supporting his daughter.
Right. Right. It was actually a fabulous plot on his part to get his daughter home and keep her here, right? Tie her to a business that she can't get away from and she can't leave. It's actually brilliant on his part.
But also being in business his whole life, he understood the benefits of having your own business.
Sure. A forced savings account, right? Yeah. That's what he always called it. All you have to do is run this business and make the payment. I mean, I will never forget signing the contract for $1.25 million to buy this business. I'm like, my 29-year-old mind, 28, I was 28 years old, and I'm $1.2 million in debt. Like, I can't even sign my name on that contract. And I was really freaked out about that for quite a while. Yeah. And then Brad Pickering, our loan officer, at one point I was chatting with him. He goes, "Oh, being in business is just about managing debt." He said, it's not whether you have debt or not, it's just managing debt." I was like, "Well, really?"
It's by a loan officer. Yeah, great. Sign this loan. Let me get my commission.
Right? But it was a legit reality for business, though, that business is about managing debt. It's not about like having it all free and clear and not having a note out. It's just about managing that debt, doing the right thing, making the right moves, being smart with your debt. And so, eventually you just like, we're always making the payment. Like, oof, it's working. Like you just kind of settle in and kind of let it roll.
So
And then you get tired of it. So like 7, 8 years in, we're like, man, this business sucks. Like we're not really making any money. Like we expanded the lodge. It's in its current condition that it's in now, current size, 25 rooms. And so I should back up. Like when we bought it, it was a 11-room bed and breakfast and had the whitewater rafting and kind of a restaurant. We remodeled the restaurant in 05, 06. We added on more rooms and reconfigured and did the bar and the conference room and landscaped the yard and built a raft building and did a massive investment, right? Paved the parking lots and did all the things. And so that got us to where we were in 06. And then we're rolling along. We're like, yeah, we're not really making any more money than we were in 2002, 3, like when it was little, because we made it way more complicated and we'd shouldered a whole bunch more debt. And then about 08, 09, we're like, this really sucks. Let's sell this and do something else. And we couldn't because the world crashed, right? And the economy was in the toilet and it wasn't worth anything. And I don't think we got a single offer on it
no.
in our first go round. So we let that slide and then kind of, the business sucks and isn't any fun. So you just ignore it and it's making the payment. So you just kind of ignore it. And
Yeah, but however, in 08, 09, we saw how solid the business was.
true.
Because we weren't suffering like a lot of other people in industries. So that was positive.
Okay.
So then we're like, I don't know, maybe this is kind of good. But in order to make it work and being pretty strapped for a lot of years, I mean, the business was us.
Sure.
So we worked hard in it every day for years.
Year round.
And, had kids. And so that complicated life. And we were doing all of it in tandem. Why is our office the way it is at the lodge now? Because we had babies when we built it.
Right. So there's a couch and a place for the kids to play.
Right. So a
'Cause
lot of
that's
hard,
where we were.
right. So a lot of hard years, which then got us to COVID. And COVID really helped businesses because we evaluated how we were doing things. And so there was things that you could quit doing. Like we didn't have to go into everybody's hotel room every day to remake their bed, even if they were staying over, because guests didn't want that. We didn't want to do that. So it just kind of made you look at things differently. Plus, we lost a lot of staff. It was very uncertain. So we really, were in just the two of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which taking the fine comb to the whole business and combing out all of the things that didn't make money really makes a difference. You can actually make money when you just quit screwing around. Just go, nope, I'm not doing anything that doesn't make money. Like we're not doing photos anymore. It was breaking even. We're not selling ice cream. We're cutting down on t-shirts and chips and all the garbage that we sold because it just wasn't really making any money. And I didn't hire a manager, a rafting manager. I took over that part of the business and just did it myself. And you stepped into a lot more restaurant roles and such. And so just us going straight hands-on and just cutting fat and cutting staff, you roll through COVID and you're like, wow, you can actually make money in this business. It's like amazing. So then you roll along with that for a little bit and you're like, yeah, but this still really isn't any fun.
A little tiring.
Right? Yeah, we're getting tired of this again. And that's about when we ran into Zeb. And Zeb comes along and he's like, wow, you can, work hard, work smart, have fun and make money. And we're like, yeah, pick two, right? You can't do all three, right?
You told me bullshit or something like that. You were like, yeah, let's see if this is real or not. It was just
Right.
like, okay, sure.
You're never shy to call Zeb out on his bullshit, Rob.
And we chat and, I think it was probably year 2 of chatting with Zeb that Zeb shows up at his booth and I'm sitting in his booth chatting with his virtual assistant. Who was actually there in person, which I don't really know how the virtual part comes in because I talked to her. She was real. But
Yeah, that was in Salt Lake. So, because
right?
that was the first like in-person interaction after COVID. So during COVID, you jumped in what was then known the Profitable Outfitter group. Now it's the Outside In Crowd Facebook group, right?
Right.
Profitable Outfitter, and that just was since everybody was online, that just turned into like a little central area that outfitters from all across the nation could get together and collaborate. That's when the origin for the Groover Gab came about. We didn't call it Groover Gab, but it was just the virtual outfitting sessions, and everybody talked about operating issues and COVID funds, and it was like that online opportunity to get people off the island, if you would, during a pretty rough patch. And it turned out to be solid, like you guys were talking about. COVID industry about saw banner years. But you know what's funny, Rob, is I never, in all of those interactions online, your Facebook profile photo had a snowmobile helmet on. So I had been interacting with you and we've been chatting and stuff and just like engaging in these topics and things. And when I show up to my booth, Vanessa, who was the virtual assistant, I did hire
Yes, I do.
her to come in person, right? Just to be able to man the booth for me. She's sitting there, and then here you just like sprawled out in the chair I was sitting at, just
I
like
had a beard.
casual as heck, just like. And I had a post stand that said to pull up a chair and shoot the shit, right? That was the Groover Gab kind of thing, and I had a little Groover sitting there, and you were like, "I'm just listening to what you're saying. I'm here to shoot the shit." And it wasn't until like 20 minutes in that I realized, oh, you're Rob Miles with the snowmobile helmet. We've been engaging for like a year and a half or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead, pick it up.
Yeah. And so, at that point, I'm like, I'm interested in how to make this business run better. It's hard. I'm not really enjoying it anymore. And, you know, I, I'm decent at financial. I mean, I'm great at financial controls, right? We made it 22 years without you. But that doesn't mean that I was fabulous at financial controls and business ideas. And so,
And it's not the thing that you spend as much time on as you should.
sure.
Mm.
So having Zeb forces you to do that.
And so, started chatting with you, Zeb, at that point, and you put together a proposal, and I'm like, oh man, I can't afford this. This retainer is insane. Like, I like this guy, but this is bullshit. Like, he's way more proud of himself than I think he's worth. Like, seriously. And so I let that go along for a little bit. And finally, I'm like, okay, all right, fine. I'll bite the bullet. I'll bite the bullet, and I'll see if this guy's full of shit or not. And so to start with, I didn't really have the bandwidth and capacity to apply myself. And
And it was just you at that point for like the first year because
sure,
I didn't even really know what you were doing and I was trying to put out all the fires on everything else.
right. But as I forced myself to go to the meetings and show up, and um it starts to spur in me the reality of the material, and that we can actually do a better job running this business, but I have to put the work in to do it, and I don't have the bandwidth to do it, right? So kind of in the first 6 months or so and going through, it's like I just didn't have the capacity to get anything else done. To spend time on the homework and actually get the projects done that needed to happen. And so kind of just floated along and kind of reinforcing the ideas and getting things, thinking about putting things in the right direction. And then eventually I get caught up enough and the ideas are sinking in, and it's like, yeah, actually I can. And I guess the one point that's been so huge to me is crawl, walk, run. Like, any little nugget that you can pull off of this and can crawl along and think about making it better is a step in the right direction. Just crawl along. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with anybody else that's crawling, but I can crawl along behind and pick up these little nuggets of wisdom and get support from people that are in the same place and doing better and doing worse, and from that can then move ahead to where now I can actually sit in the group and go, oh yeah, we're actually like walking, pushing, running on that point. Like, hey guys, like hang in there. Nobody sucked at this more than I did. Like, just hang in there. I know it sucks to suck, but if you hang in here, I mean, if a slacker like me can make it work, like if you hang in here, it will work and it gets easier. Like
So
not, in like round two, you're not like learning it and trying to understand what the hell Zeb's talking about. You're like, oh yeah, right. I get it now. I saw this before. Like, then I can sit in the group and I can watch everybody else and I'm like, oh yeah, like that guy's not getting this. He, I can just see it on his face, like that's where I was last year, And then I can help. I could be like, hey, dude, I know this sucks and Zeb's full of shit, but it actually doesn't. Like, just try a little piece of it
it
and
does,
move ahead.
it really does work. So just for people listening, because you jumped into the Eddy, right? When you started talking about
Yeah,
crawl, walk,
I
run.
did. I got to the group. Yeah.
Yep. So you cleared a lot of ground there in just a short amount of time. To
Yeah,
clarify,
I
the
did.
crawl, walk, run is an initiative at the end of all of our Eddy sessions and our curriculums that we deliver. Is Corey and Kayla and myself will deliver MBA-esque kind of content delivery surrounding managerial skills or work smart, have fun, make money sub stuff that we do within the Eddy group over the course of a year. And at the very end of those, we have a crawl, walk, run for wherever you're at within this process. We have some tactile things for you to leave with, whether you're in a position to crawl, which would be our suggested bare minimum, to walk, which is really kind of level up, and we would really like to see everybody get there, or to run. And you've been in it for the course of multiple years. So what you were chatting about is at the beginning you were crawling, and because of just, challenges and work pressures and everything else, sometimes it was hard to start crawling. But because you started crawling, and then year two, you actually have escalated to the walk capacity, you get it, things really start clicking a little bit more. You're applying it, we're starting to educate your managers. And then now into this cycle, you've gone through it a few times. You crawled, you've walked, you've also been able to support and engage other people within the Eddy group. You and your organization specifically are running right now in a lot of these fronts, right? Um, so we'll get to there. I would like to kind of back up a minute, right? And also to right before Susie came into play, that 6 month mark on the financial side, we were still trying to get the firm foundations of the financials in order. You guys have been doing good net operating income wise, but as you had put it before, you weren't really just, you were doing good, but you weren't doing great. You weren't creating the capacities for freedom, for really conceptually understanding what it'd be like to step away from the business. So like at that 6 month mark, we had done some pricing consults. I had encouraged you to change the price points on your lodging. You're like, you're full of junk. We're not going to be able to get these price points for this lodge. And I was like, well, give it a try and we'll kind of crawl, walk, run your price points. People were buying it. They weren't sloughing off. You were surprised at the price. We ended up doing another round of price point, right? After a couple of years of price points, we had increased your average price by like 30 or 40% on the base, and that took a couple year nurture in that case, but revenue, expense control, we've now got your net operating income to a more than comfortable level for you guys. And you're also hiring out managers and GMs and other people that because of in the past you just hired them, but then you decided to take it back over because they just weren't doing as well. But now you're hiring them and the support they get in the Eddy, they're kicking ass. So you guys
Yeah.
are hitting net operating income numbers and you're no longer in the business and it doesn't suck anymore. So I can close that gap, right? But I'll let you guys kind of pick up on it. And I would really love to hear from Susie too, what your experience was being afar from Rob that first year, not really knowing anything about Zebulon except for what we were hearing. And then,
And what you saw on the going out, the monies.
hmm And then where what you've now evolved into and how you're integrated within the circuit.
Sure. I don't know how long exactly you were involved before I jumped in.
I don't know. I don't know how long we've been doing this. I don't I don't really know.
It's been a few years. I think it was about a year, year and a half before.
It would have been after Salt Lake. before Albuquerque.
Is this your third summer season with us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is. I don't remember the exact, but I do remember, Rob, you and I went through at least a full year before Susie really started stepping in.
Probably.
And
Yeah.
then when you started stepping in, Susie, is when the restaurant was starting to weigh down on you a little bit. And it was like, well, let's get Susie kind of into the market in this discussion specifically to help you manage the restaurant.
Right, and then also to do the homework.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like because I spent a year looking at Rob going, did you do this last year? And he's like, nope. Did you do this last year? Nope. Did you do employee grading?
No.
Nope. And I was like,
Slacker crawling.
I'm like, okay, great. Let's get her done.
So what I'm hearing is that it's nice to have some accountability within your own team.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
And I think it was important for me to get connected because what I would hear from Rob before I was involved is Zeb says that we need to raise prices, so we're doing this. And then I was doing the marketing and I'm like, what? Okay, you're crazy. Oh no, this is what we're doing. What? And so there was just this whole disconnection.
Mm.
So then I think I kind of got involved in accident because you were fighting a fire and you had a meeting scheduled with Zeb and you didn't want to let it go. So then I met with Zeb one-on-one. I'm like, I hardly even know this guy. But then as we kind of made a better effort to do the work and be committed, then I stayed involved.
Which to me, the point of that, I mean, yes, you pushed every project along, but the real point in that is that if the team's involved in the group, it makes all the difference, right? So like, Brock and Chelsea are in now, and so after an Eddy, I'll go chat with them and we'll like recap what was going on and how we're actually going to do it, and it just having the team involved is so much more than accountability because it's a team sport.
And to clarify, Brock and Chelsea are your managers who you brought on this spring, but they're
Yeah.
also sitting in on the Eddy meetings with us, and then they also participate in our bi-weekly strategy meetings. So they've got their fingers in all the puddings. And are there any aspects of the like knowledge sharing and like training up this leadership that you either struggled with, or is there any aspect of like bringing them into the fold that you've particularly enjoyed handing over?
I think having all of the team involved in the Eddy is, it works really well.
Hmm.
It just makes all of the ideas just congeal so much better that Brock and Chelsea and Susie and I are all there. And as we've had before, right? We had other staff that like didn't get it. Like they weren't involved in growing and having more responsibility and really having the vision to make things better. And so it isn't for everyone, right? Sometimes we pick the wrong people in the organization. And so we were dragging that person along, kind of just making them do it. And
They showed,
now,
I'm going to interject. They showed prospect, right? There was opportunity to grow them and develop them, and it wasn't that you willy-nilly decided to bring them in and force them to do
right,
it. You gave them an opportunity
true,
to step in and do it. And then the true colors beyond, the words say one thing, but then when action comes into play,
right.
it wasn't clicking. And then, there just wasn't the inspiration and aspiration to continue to grow and evolve to the cadence and the pace that you were hoping that they would. So just by, in their case, literally not showing up or not applying,
Mhm.
they found their replacement. You
Right,
gave them the opportunity, but their actions found their own replacement.
right.
Mhm.
And that's real progress, right? In an organization. To me, that's just a total testament to, if you want to be involved and engaged and you want to learn and push the company forward and push your own growth forward, you will. And if you aren't capable or willing to do that, then you won't, and you'll fall to the side. And so
And
I think that,
I would say you said something important there that it's the business growth, but it's also personal growth.
right,
That's
that's
what's important.
really the most important part. is the personal growth, because your personal growth is what really pushes all of the team and organization growth is your personal growth. It's really,
Versus happiness.
which is what it's all about, right? And so to answer the other part of your question, Corey, I don't think there's really been anything that I've seen. Maybe in the first go round, I was like, I don't really buy that.
But don't you think right off the bat you liked the mentorship? Because we had had a lot of conversations prior to being involved with Zebulon of just kind of feeling like you're all by yourself.
Sure.
Because here it's the two of us making decisions every day about everything, and what's somebody else doing? What are our competitors
What
doing?
do we know about it?
No
Like,
idea.
all that we know is this. This is what we've been doing. Hey, how's it work? Well, I don't know. It's all I can see.
We saw successes with Rob's brother. He has his own business and has a auto repair shop in Bend, Oregon. And during the COVID years, got involved with Shop Fix, which is a mentoring group of other people that are shop owners. And he learned so much and grew so much in those years when he was involved with them, because he was able to bounce other ideas off of other people. Or he learned, I mean, that he could also work on Mercedes because he was working on Audi and Volkswagen, and he didn't even know, except for this group told him that. So the same thing happens in our Eddy group, right? You know, oh, have you tried this? Or what res tech are you guys using? I mean, there's so many valuable things in collaboration. And you go, wow, I'm not the only one doing this. Okay, I got this.
So I got a follow-up question to you on that, right? So one of the inspirations that created the Eddy in the first place is connecting with owners like yourselves, our clients, asking them, what they found most valuable in attending conferences, for example. Like where is it that they went for knowledge, and where did you go to learn things? And what was it that you got out of those? And then what were the shortcomings of it, right? So we basically learned and sourced, okay, people love going to conferences to learn. That's where outfitters specifically go get their once a year education. However, it's once a year, and then you learn all this great stuff, but then there's no follow-up or accountability. So we applied that, and we thought, okay, well, let's go ahead and create that in the Eddy group, get them that education that everybody's hungry for, and specifically in topics that we can support and encourage and develop and help the businesses and personnel grow, as you're talking about. But then to do it on a frequent enough basis every other week, that forces you to stay on top of it, that forces you to show up, that forces you to apply that stuff year round. So it's not just learned in November and then forgotten through 11 months of the year. It's learning and applying every year. So Susie, with what you were talking about, has that been impactful, and is it that much more valuable, even though, yeah, it's expensive, to show up and continue that charge and to continue that nurture and that growth and the camaraderie and all that?
Well, and I think that group holds you accountable. I mean, it's easy for Rob and I to kind of hold each other accountable or not, right? But then when other people are doing it, or when you have, I mean, you have people in the group that are way more senior in the process than we are, like Moses, right? And you just look at that guy and you hear the wisdom that he gives out every day just naturally, and you're like, wow, I want to be like that.
And you guys are some of our biggest brand ambassadors, and it's thanks to you that directly thanks to you that some of the new members are even part of the group. So I'm assuming there's a little bit of accountability there too, where you're like, we told these guys to come in. Well, now we have to walk the talk.
Well, and we tell people
That's not hard though, right? Walking the talk is easy. That's the easy part because we're already doing it, right? Like, I'm not a salesman. I can't sell shit to anybody, but I can talk about things I believe in. And that's totally different to me.
I think the biggest obstacle is you can start, but then you have to make the transition to actually do it. So how do you make that transition? Because isn't that what you guys experience with each new company that you bring on? It's like, okay, they've signed up. That's great. Okay. And then it takes a while before they actually believe. Because it is extra work. It's a lot. Yeah.
It is extra work, and we've learned over the years, and we've worked with over 50 outfitters, close to 60 outfitters across the nation right now. And there's a reason why we're only currently actively working with less than a dozen, right? Mostly, like, if it comes down to actually doing it and applying it, we know that we can achieve the results. We know that we can get these accomplishments as long as it's putting in not just the work. I mean, you, as your guys is from your position, the stuff we ask you do and we have you do isn't hard, right? It's just it's putting in the effort and it's guiding your team members through it and it's trusting in the fact that it will work and it's
Mhm.
believing in it and supporting it. And Rob, how did your transition change from when you were kind of, crawling, I wouldn't say fighting it, but it just, you weren't taking it super seriously to where it was like, all right, I'm kind of crawling loosely. Then you kind of walked up your pace and then you were like, oh man, I remember watching you. It was like, oh, Rob and IRC, like they're after it now.
I think part of that is part of what we did was intentional in our hiring. And
Mm.
so having more support, right? There was only so much that I could do and only so much, I only had so much bandwidth. And so when we first brought Jamie in and started her and like, okay, now I've got support. Like it's not just me doing all these things. Now I've got somebody that can help and can push some of these initiatives along. I think that was really the turning point. If you don't have the bandwidth to do it, you can't do it. You can't leverage up if you can't pick your leg up and get a step on something, if you just don't have the bandwidth to do it. So I think that identifying that and seeing, like, in order to make this actually happen, I have to have help. I have to have, you know, it's good to get Susie involved so I don't have to explain it to her and I don't have to go sell it to her, right? She can listen to our strategies and what's going on, and I don't have to go teach her what's happening, what we're going to do. I think that was a big step too. So hiring some staff so that we could actually have the bandwidth to improve, getting Susie involved, and then just seeing it again, like being on the second go around and having the faith that I could make a difference is really the huge one, right? Oh, this will actually work. I can actually do this and things will get better. And that is the key. If you don't believe in it, right? It's kind of like you said, Zeb, like, hey, here's the tools and here's what's going on. And if you don't believe in it and apply yourself, it's not going to work. And if you do believe in it and you are reading the books and soaking up the material and you're internalizing it, and hey, not everybody that comes along is going to have the aptitude, right? That's the other part of it. Is that not everyone can do this. Some people are C minus. That's just how it is. They just don't have the drive, or they don't have the aptitude or the willingness to do
Well,
it.
I think we're all at a different timeline too. So Rob and I
Totally.
have been in this business long enough that we've been burned out, kind of gone through a couple burnout cycles and
Mhm.
knew that our kids were almost, done with high school. So what's next for us? And we have never really ever felt that we were going to keep it forever. So we knew a sale was going to happen at some point. So we are late in that timeline that we're approaching the point that we want to be done. There's another business that's in the group and they're doing a generational transition, right? Going from the older generation to, a son that's taking it over. So they need help with that process. Well, that's different than ours, but really the same homework applies.
Mhm.
So
Right. All the same tools help that organization work better and more streamlined and move in the right direction. And so, like, we're old in this business, but we're young in this business. We've only been here 25 years. But I did the math the other day and we work 7 days a week. So it's like over 40 years that we've been in this business because we don't work 5-day weeks. It's not what it is.
Right.
So when you do the math, it's like, no wonder we're tired.
Mhm.
It's time to move on.
You mentioned that you put your business on the market back in 2008 or 2007, and didn't get any bites. That could also very well be because of the economic uh, situation. But now you're kind of staring down the barrel of another transition, and it looks like there's, things are gonna change. Is there anything that you could attribute to, like, being ready to have that leadership transition better now than what was that, 15, 20 years ago? Or what has helped you feel prepared for that change?
The huge shift is and we all know this, right? You have business owners and you have small business owners that buy themselves a job and work in a business. And then you have entrepreneurs that actually run businesses. And it is a business. It's not the person, right? And
Mhm.
so as we've leveraged up and been able to hire more people, and then we consciously decided, we need to hire a general manager. And this general manager needs to replace parts of us. And so that this isn't us running this business, this is a standalone turnkey business. And so all of this preparation and all of these steps that we've gone through in the last couple of years with Zebulon have put us in a position where we can hire people smartly, train them properly to take over the responsibilities that they need to have, and then actually put a whole package in front of a buyer. It's like, here is a business that you can buy and own, and you don't have to run it. It's actually a turnkey business. And so I think that in so many ways, the financial work that we've done, the structure development that we've done, the human capital that we've developed has all gone into making this a viable sale. And 0809, it was not that attractive of a business.
Right, and even 3 years ago, we showed it to a couple
Mhm.
different buyers, and they love it, love the property, think it's great. It seems like a ton of fun. Look, the balance sheet seems like it works, and then they go, "Oh, well, who's your general manager?" And we're like, "Oh, it's us," and they're like, "Oh, okay, never mind."
Basically.
Right. I mean, they
Yeah.
didn't even come back. There was several people like that.
Yeah.
So
And so I think it all goes hand in hand. Having the structure in place, having good people that are effective. Chelsea is doing an amazing job as our general manager and really just absorbing knowledge and absorbing responsibility.
But what was really attractive to her and her husband in taking positions with us was that we are working on our business.
Mhm.
Like they love a lot of the tools and the things that, they loved seeing the RASI chart when we were interviewing them and
Mhm.
stuff like that, that they were like, wow, these guys care. This is cool. Okay, I'm in.
Right.
And so for
There's
those
structure.
coming in, there's been a couple things dropped already. So
Mm.
Rob, you mentioned, like a C employee, and you talked about the qualifications of the employee. So in the Eddy, one of the things we've done historically, and one of the things we do on a regular basis at the conclusion of a season is an employee grading exercise that we have 6 or 7 different qualifiers of what make for a good employee, and managers will go through and evaluate all of the employee base on those different qualifiers. So from a multiple level perspective, in hindsight, when you go through the exercise, you identify those top employees that actually did really well. That in outfitting, we tend to put the technical abilities at a high stance. But in our grading schedule, technical abilities is only 2 of the 7 questions. The rest of it gets into culture and work aptitude and willingness to throw down and all kinds of stuff, right? So it brings to light, oh, what actually qualifies as a good employee. It elevates those people to the top, and it really calls out oftentimes a lot of like sleeper employees that are quiet, that kind of sit in the background, that nobody really ever gets recognition for, and it brings them to surface, and are able to give them recognition. It also calls out the people that you may not want to invite back next year, or those that are tear downs on a culture, and making sure that we're taking those people out of the picture just so they're not ripping the organization down in the next year, basically. It
Mhm.
also helps us from a manager's perspective or supervisor perspective know how we can develop up those people and continue to grow them up so that we, as an organization, move our team base from a B minus team according to the average grading to a B plus team to an A minus team over the few years, right? So that was one thing Rob mentioned earlier. And then Susie, you just mentioned the RASI chart. So in the RASI chart, when we go through the process of identifying this manager, and you're figuring out what is it that you need to offload to create the capacities so you can spend more time strategizing with Zebulon and applying it, and really matching up the right responsibilities with the team you have around you. Also, we do Clifton Strengths Finders, so we learn what the strengths are of your individual team members. We use RASI charts to identify the responsibilities, who's accountable, who's going to be responsible, who's going to be reformed, and delegate that outward, and as well as build new roles and positions on who you need to hire, right? So it's all very structured and it's all very organized in recruiting, in assigning and delegating, in developing. Rob, you said one time during Eddy, you're like, man, I love this RASI charting. It's like bartering who's going to do what. And like you get together as a team and you exchange and you try it out. And it's like, all right, well, that was a bonk. That didn't work. But well, we've learned this about this person. Let's go ahead and put that responsibility over there. And, it becomes a game on who's going to be assuming what, basically. And it's fun at that point, right? It's all to help us work smart, have fun, and make money. Because everything we're doing is helping you make money, which now pays for the people that you can have fun with, right? And we want to educate the people that you're having fun with to work smart and not hard. So,
Right. And I believe what you said too, Zeb, is it's a team. So it's not that Rob and I are just sitting in our office doing all of this and then we're going, okay, everybody, here's what we're doing. No, they're involved in the process.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
critical.
And
Well,
they're better than you guys ever would have done it, which is what you love about it too, right?
oh,
Right.
it's fabulous, right?
Right.
And I think that it kind of brings up the idea that, you write the job description and then you hire somebody and you say, this is your job and this is what you're going to do. And then they're like, well, they don't really, here's the job. And really, they're kind of like over here. Like this stuff isn't happening. And this stuff over here is better than you anticipated.
Mm.
So RASI charting to me, when you put all these responsibilities in a list and you're like, okay, you can do that one, that one, that one. Yeah, you don't really like that one. You can do this one, this and this one, but this guy's really good at this one. And rather than like, well, this is your job, this is what you have to do. No, screw that. These are all the tasks. These are all the responsibilities that we have to get done. And so who wants what, right? That's the bartering. Like I totally see like the team just sitting around this winter with like Post-its, like, okay, who
Dibs.
wants hiring? Like, I'm not that fond of it. Brock would be like, dude, I'll take it. That'll be fun. Like it's
We could make you guys special, what are those auctioneer paddles where everyone just kind of lifts up, the
right.
auctioneer up the front. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like it's like a charity auction. Ooh, I'll bid it. I'll bid 100 on that one.
Mhm.
I really like it.
So as we have entertained a sale for our business, which is very exciting, we've had a lot of people giving us congratulations. And so one thing that pops up a lot is, hey, that's really cool. And the people that have known us for a long time say, wow, you guys have put in a lot of work and so you deserve it. And as we talk to these people and they've kind of seen us go through the process, they're like, is there something like this for me? And like we have a few specific friends that I can think of that are business owners. And so they're like, man, that sounds awesome. I really need that.
Well, if they're outfitters, you know where to send them.
Right.
I get the feeling they're not, though.
Usually they're not. One has a Christmas tree farm and she's trying to take it over from her dad, who's, retiring. And so she feels the same way, like, man, I'm just all by myself trying to run this business. And so that working on your business and going and doing that extra work is what has made us successful. So, I wish we could give this to other people.
You being on here to speak about it is getting people one step closer. So thank you for doing that part.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's the fun part, right? Like, as we get this cleaned up, and I've said before, like, hey, I want to check in on Demetrius and see, how they're doing and like, give him a little support. Like, I want to know. I mean, I would like to think that I could enhance a younger person's life with some of my perspective. I would hope that I could add some value.
Well, I want to affirm that in that you are by bringing in the Brocks and the Chelseas and the other people within your organization, you are having that impact now, right? And I will tell you with your presence within the Eddy, and again, because you've been going through it for a while now, and we do have a lot of young managers who are now stepping into this, and you are having impacts on those people in that room too. I mean, yeah, there's, anywhere from 12 to 16 people usually that show up within the given meeting. And fortunately, man, everybody is so good about showing up on a regular basis. But like the relationships that everybody's building, the connectedness, and then like when we get together and we have the wet Eddy, which is usually when we get together at a bar when we're at an annual conference, right? We're there with like our closest friends because you've interacted with them over 100 times every other week for 52 weeks of the year. And it's like, yeah, you don't know how tall they are until you actually show up. And I was like, oh, wow, Rob, you're my height. I thought you were taller. Or like,
Right.
damn, Ken,
Ken. He's
tall
really
and you got some beastly shoulders. I had no idea about that, you know? Like, but that's what's fun about the wet Eddy and meeting people. But it's that connectedness and that relationship building and the support. So I just want to know that like you are having that impact on Demetrius and you are having that impact on Cody and you are having that impact on Dan and Nora and so many of the people that are in there, just like all the other outfitters that are showing up.
Yeah. Well, they're all such good people, right? That's the cool
that's
part
a joke.
about it is that they're all good people. They're all trying to learn and trying to do better. And, you know, that's infectious that everybody's trying to do better and trying to learn and trying to make life easier,
Well, and that was one thing I think I
make
chatted
more
with
money.
Corey about when we did a round of questions. I don't know, a few months ago, was like, who else do you talk to about business stuff?
Mhm.
And I mean, we operate in a town of 450 people. And so we talk to a couple of our competitors sometimes or have a beer with them, but it's mostly logistical stuff. It's not really any meat about how to run your business. And so
Mhm.
Right.
you have to look elsewhere for that beyond your community. So that's why this has been really helpful.
Yeah. And just I think the real magic in the Eddy is the candid sharing, right? I mean, you go to Confluence and I'll be like, hey, Peter Grubb, how's it going? You know, and actually we have a pretty good relationship. So that's kind of a bad example. But a lot of people that you talk to, it's pretty surface. Like you don't really dive into the things that really matter and can make a difference. And the 100% open, honest sharing in the Eddy, driven a lot by financials and just having that transparency in front of everyone. Hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're spending. This is what we're making or not making, right? Like just being able to have that shared information is such a bond that then allows so much to open up that you can talk about. Hey, what are you guys doing with this? Like, we're having this kind of this kind of a problem, and it's just the group knowledge that's there is the magic. That's the magic in the whole thing, right? Nobody has a silver bullet, but we all have ammunition. And and as we all get together and start like, rallying around the things and kicking these ideas around, and I might even just be listening, which is hard to imagine that I'm just listening, that two people talk about things and I'm like, oh yeah, that actually would work. Like we could do that. Like, it's a great idea. I'm gonna make a note on that one.
So I'm gonna take a quick exit. I mean, you guys by all means keep doing this. Thank you so much. I've got to go get on a recruitment call.
Yeah, man. Bag them.
Appreciate you coming on.
Let me know if you need a closer.
Yeah, will do. Actually, yeah, you'll learn about how some of our recruitment efforts have gone recently here soon. So we got some exciting news to share. But
Cool.
yeah, Corey, by all means, continue on. Take it. I'll see you guys later on. Thank you so much.
Yep.
See you,
Yeah.
Zeb. Take care, man. And a huge component of the magic is Zeb. A huge component. So many times Zeb is sitting there in the Eddy, listening, smiling, maybe not even acting like he's actually usually engaged. I was just saying, acting like he's not listening. But
he's always engaged.
He's soaking it up and he's sitting there, and then, somebody will say something and Zeb will go, and then have you thought about this, and like throws this little nugget out there, like, well, Patrick Lencioni in this book, he says this, blah, 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 blah. And so his knowledge is wonderful. His zest for the subject matter right, is amazing because he loves this. He loves this stuff. A lot of it is pretty dull, but
he feeds off it. Yeah.
But he just totally geeks out on it.
His positive personality.
And that was the last part that I was going to say is that he's always happy. He's always the cheerleader. And I mean, Sometimes he goes through the financials and he's like, hey, and you're a little bit down over here, but that just looks like a real opportunity. It's like something like that. It's like, dude, it's down. This sucks. Like, what are you talking about? But no, not Zeb, right?
He's got infectious enthusiasm for
He
sure.
has infectious enthusiasm, and it's real. I mean, if you gel with the guy at all, you can't help but get that on you.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's infectious.
Which is also helpful in the one-on-ones, because when we have the one-on-ones every other week, you know, with him and us, then yes, there's a prepared video that you know you can watch and see your synopsis of financially where you're at and talk about some things and nuances. But then there's other things that you talk about. So we've had times where like our restaurant was really, really struggling with staffing, and maybe a manager wasn't doing the right thing or whatever it is, right? He then can spend a half hour with you working through a solution. Well, that wasn't anything part of our financials.
Mm.
So that therapy, if you will, that business management therapy that he offers is huge. I mean, we've had a couple times where we're like, well, we have a meeting with Zeb. I don't really know what we're going to talk about. And then it just happens. And then you're like, man, I'm glad I had that meeting.
Right. Or I'll go into it like, I don't have time for this. Like, Zeb, I don't
Mm.
have time to talk to you today. Like, I just, I didn't cancel because I don't want to be that guy, but I really don't want to talk to you. And he'll be like, you know, just legit. And he's like, well, what's the matter? I'm like, I just don't have time to think about this, Zeb. I've got this problem and this problem and this problem. And one day he says, what is on your desk right now that I can help you with? And I said, I don't know. And I pick up a piece of paper and I'm like, what do you know about this topic? And he's like, oh, well, this is, you know, this type of a financial situation or whatever. And I'm like, what? He's like, well, yeah, have you thought about doing this? And I was like, no, just makes that all cool. All right, good. How about this one? You know, like, what can I do for you today to make your day better? And I'm, you know, and I'm like, nothing. You can't help me. This is a shit pile on my desk. No, actually, he can.
And I guess the whole summary of all of that, which I agree with, is that there's a plan, but there's not a script.
Mm.
So we kind of, you know, we have a plan, we have things that we need to do each year. And I mean, we kind of work through the annual calendar, right? But then there's not a script. So maybe you don't do it, or maybe you do, or maybe you do it 4 times. I mean, and that's all okay.
Or maybe you do it and it falls apart. And you know, again, you're clear back to, I mean, we've had times when we're like running on stuff, and some days I'm like, today is a definite less than a crawl. Like, I showed up and that's all you're gonna get because it's all I've got left today.
And I guess that really works well in the outfitter community because it's flow. And not all organizations have flow, and having flow is how we all operate. I mean, we all operate on a river, and so there's, I mean, yes, there's timetables, but there's also flow that has to happen in customers.
There's seasonality too,
And
and just having to roll with punches, and you guys get punched a lot.
And so then having this organization and this relationship also work in that way is critical. Because if we had, you know, a script and, you know, things that we had to check off all the time, that wouldn't work.
Mm-mm.
Well, and I don't even want to say it because it's so like dorky, but like Zeb is like the business guru.
Mhm.
You go talk to the guru. He'll make it better. It's like, you know, whatever the problem is, go talk to the guru.
Well, we make a key point, especially during like high operating season, to, I love what you said, Susie, about having a plan but not a script. We make a key point of leaving some time and all the meetings to just be like, what's key right now? What can we help with? Because you never know what it's going to be. And it could be that there's, you know, a pipes burst, or it could be that you're barely crawling, like you said one day. So we do make a point to be there and roll with you with those punches.
Well, and your annual calendar reflects that too. You know, there's less meat in the summer on season as there is in the winter.
Mhm.
So, mhm.
We know that it's hard to make the time to show up every couple weeks, rain or shine, high season, low season, high stoke, low stoke. So
Mhm.
that it's the consistency that makes it,
Yeah,
relationship so strong, I think.
Mhm.
it is highly seasonal. And that is one of the hardest parts of outfitting. I guess that's why years ago when I started going to, you know, to start with, we were broken. We didn't go to America Outdoors. It's like, oh, it's in, you know, Vegas or wherever. It's like, we can't afford that. go
Mhm.
take that trip in the winter. And then I'll never forget the first time that I went. I'm like, oh wow, like we can't afford to not do this.
Mhm.
And so that's like this group. Like if you're gonna be in the business and you're going to be successful and stay energized and be able to look forward in your business and push the business to the next levels, like you have to do this because you're not going to do it on your own.
Yeah.
On your own, you're just going to be like, maybe growing, but you're not going to leverage up without more knowledge, without support. And to me, that's the huge thing that I believe that Zebulon and this group has done for us is we have leveraged up.
Right,
We have
absolutely.
leveraged up a long ways. And we weren't on that trajectory at all. We were on an okay trajectory, but we weren't leveraging up.
Well,
And
they didn't
so,
know how.
right, in order to do things differently and to have a different outcome, you have to have more information. You have to have better information.
Mm.
You have to have better leadership, which I didn't possess.
Mhm.
So this group has been, I think in some ways, you hinted at it before, that it's all about timing and a person's receptiveness and willing to make a change.
Yeah.
And we were at a great spot for this to just hit us in the sweet spot of like, oh yeah, just roll right into this. And I think that's been the magic for us. I would hope that it's the magic for anybody,
Yeah.
that it would go the same way. But I could see if you weren't receptive to it, if you weren't in the right spot, if you didn't drink the Kool-Aid, it doesn't work.
Well, that's music to our ears, and we are so, so grateful that you're willing to share your experience so candidly and that we've been able to build this relationship with you. It's been a wild ride.
It's been great.
And it's not
It's
over.
been super
No,
great.
it's not over. It's
Yeah.
just changing. Things will transition.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Exactly.
And your business is transitioning, and I see that, and
Mm.
I acknowledge that the intentionality. I mean, Zeb isn't just working on us, right? He's working on Zebulon
Right.
himself,
Mhm.
right? You guys and your
Mhm.
team, right?
Yep.
And that's really cool to
It's fun
see
to be a part of.
shift,
Mhm.
and yeah, and to see that. I mean, I love the whole team, you and Kayla and Zeb. I mean, you guys, it's a team it's a team effort, and it's really fun to see how you guys are all moving in the right direction and setting that direction through essentially the same principles that we're dealing with. That Zeb is applying, that you guys, the three of you, are applying it to your business in growth and new hire and what that looks like and where it's all going to go. And that's going to continue to metamorphosize as you guys move along. It's not going to be the same. And
That's
that
been a learning process, doing the same initiatives in the Eddy that we encourage Eddy members to do and doing them ourselves as our team's growing. It's like, oh, now we have, reason to do it ourselves and be like, oh yeah, this is hard to do. So now we can commiserate with you guys. You're like, I don't have time for this. Be like, yeah, it actually is quite time consuming, but it's worth it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of it's homework. It just sucks. Just like, I mean, that's my opinion. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, it's all
But
I
if
know,
there's anything I've learned from you, Rob, it's to embrace the suck sometimes.
right? You just gotta embrace the suck. Just have to.
I saw that eye roll, Susie.
I've heard that a lot from Rob.
But it's because it's true. True.
You have to work on things in order for them to get better.
Yeah.
You have to do the work.
What's the simple definition of insanity? Doing the same things and expecting a different outcome. That is insanity.
Mhm.
It's gonna be different. What are you doing different? Nothing. But it's gonna be different. No, it's not. It's gonna be exactly the same. You're gonna have the same shitty attitude and the same outcome because you're not changing a thing.
Right.
Mm.
And put in the work and change, and then it will be a different outcome.
It will be different.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank you
it's
both so much. I am so appreciative. Is there anything else that you like want to have on the record, or any other thing that we didn't cover that you're like, "Oh, this is, I want to make sure that I say this."
I I was just gonna say we have had some staff on and off, so it's been interesting to watch them grow a little bit, even if they weren't involved for a super long amount of time.
Mm.
So, I mean, I think that has positively impacted them, even if they just come in for a few sessions. You know, I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Holly or even Jamie. You know, they were involved for a shorter amount of time, and it seems like there's always something for everybody, which is helpful.
Yeah,
And that's good.
that's great.
It'll be fun. I'm very interested to see where things go and like how, you know, you guys have been with Moses now for 4 or 5 years.
I want to say it's like 6 or
Is
7.
it more
I
like
don't have my
that?
hands deep in the central data hub like Kayla and Zeb do, so I don't know it off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
we've lots of years under our belt with
Right.
momentum.
And so to see, you know, Moses is at that guru level, and that's really that's cool to see. I'm very interested to see just kind of where everybody else goes
Yeah.
and how that unfolds for them. Um, you know, watching Wildman and last year's struggles and now this year, you know, new zest and new direction and just the growth and the changes is super intriguing to me, just kind of to see how they, you know, how it all unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only other thing I would say too to new people is that it's can be scary because it's a lot of work, but you don't have to do it all. You just do what you can do, which is why the whole crawl, walk, run continues to come up because, hey, you know what? Some days the trenches are deeper than others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay because I know that both of us have been big failures and have looked like failures in the Eddy group. And that's okay because everybody, I mean, there's a vulnerability there, which is also what creates the trust. And so you can fail and you can do it wrong and you can not do it as long as you keep trying. And so, I mean, I think that the encouragement there just overrides maybe any failures that you might have, and it's okay.
That's beautiful.
Oh, stop.
Shed a little
Am
tear.
I-
It's super true. I'm sorry. I am actually sorry I made light of that because that was very true.
Been in that spot.
Oh man, I can suck.
I mean, you're first to admit there were times where you're like, I'm barely crawling right now. And but then a year later, like you say, you're walking, approaching, running. Like you're able to layer on and really take things and run with them and implement them. And it's the growth there and the ability, just kind of letting it percolate. It's
Right.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
And we all go at a different pace.
It's right. It sinks in at different rates. I mean, that's it. I wouldn't think that I'm a slow learner, but maybe some of these concepts are a little more advanced than I was ready to absorb.
It was timing.
Yeah, timing, whatever. Like it's
And revisiting them in the seasonal part of the business, being able to come back next season and see the same initiatives and see the same kind of curriculum, being like, oh yeah, I can work more on that this time.
I think the big picture, it's all really great. That just the simple motto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have fun, work smart, make money. And
All about.
tying in the personal development to the business development. Because it's as we know, it's the people that matter. A business is, you know, oh, it's a business, it's not personal. No, actually, it's all personal. It is. It's all personal. There is no option. Every single person involved is a person. It's just a group of humans trying to, you know, hopefully trying to move in the same direction.
Yeah.
And so it's all personal. You know, doing the multi-vision is brilliant. Being able to look at an employee and talk about their 6-month goals and 1-year goals and 5-year goals. Like, what are your goals? What do you want for yourself moving forward? And maybe it's something really distinct and amazing, and maybe it's nothing because they don't know. And that's where they are. Like, okay, cool. That helps me understand how days work.
Yeah.
You aren't incredibly driven by something in particular, or maybe you are. Maybe you want this, you know. I want to buy a new camper or whatever, like whatever the
Also,
deciding factors.
taking the time to sit around or sit down and think about those questions for yourself as owners and business people, and what do you want? What do you see your future? That's equally as crucial.
And those questions are hard. It's
But
really
important.
hard, but it's great. That's what makes it all work. So, yeah, I can talk about this all afternoon. So,
Well, again, thank you so much. We are so grateful.
you're welcome.
When
You
asked.
are so welcome. Thank you for spending time with us.